Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I have Stacy Cason on the line, and she is CEO and founder of Planetary. Stacy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Adam. Thanks for having me.
All right, Stacy. So I'm excited to announce to our audience, number one, that you're going to, of course, be an author in one of our upcoming books. I just want to say, hey, we're thrilled to have you be part of the project.
Thank you. Thank you. It was my honor.
So, Stacy, we're going to jump into this episode, and we'll start this episode the way that we start them all, with what we call our Mission Matters Minute. So, Stacy, we at Mission Matters, we amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. That's our mission. Stacy, what mission matters to you?
I have always had a passion for helping people, and that has taken a few different paths over my career, from medical field into business, and then founding Planetary with the mission of helping people find healthy alternatives for pain management. And it's through inventing a new way of extracting from hemp using water. So we render a full spectrum, close to the plant product that has tremendous health benefits. We're also certified organic. So it was a big mission to bring forth this company and these products to really help people.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to do a deeper dive into Planetary and what you're doing there as well, because I know you are pioneering some processes in the space. So again, great to have you on. And I guess I'd like to start maybe and kind of stay in those early days a little bit longer as you're going through your career. I mean, how did you know, or if there was a point or time where it was a progression to where you knew like the entrepreneurship path was something that you were going to go after?
It's a great question. I think it was kind of always an idea that I had. I'm very independent and free spirited.
Hmm.
I don't Probably not a great employee because I like having my own rules. I'll work
We get
hard,
that a lot on this show, Stacy. I don't know if you realize it.
I like things on my terms. I
Right.
like to say who and when and how. So
Okay.
I did have employment for a while in the
Mm.
hospital, and then after I got my first master's, I kind of started on my own. So I think my last W-2 was in 2004.
Mm.
So been an entrepreneur then in a variety of different industries.
Yeah, and I feel like so for all the, I mean, so you entrepreneur since 2004, so the ups, the downs, sideways, everything in between. I mean, so you went through 2008, like that wasn't, I mean, and didn't go very well for everybody, right?
Right.
That was a tough one right now, the pandemic,
Hmm.
and just some people are doing well, some people are they're different places in their business or otherwise. So, I guess speaking to maybe some of those entrepreneurs that are watching this, that maybe they're up, maybe they're down, maybe they're in between, right? Like what
Yeah.
keeps you strong? Like what keeps you strong on this journey?
I think through all the ups and downs, it's important to stay grounded, to have a
Mhm.
good foundation, to always remember who you are, to have
Mm.
a good support system. I have some amazing friends that I can call or text almost anytime, and they, you know,
Mm.
either support or listen or something. But it's really important for me to kind of stay grounded through all of the ups and downs.
Mm.
In 2008, I was in military medicine, so somewhat shielded from that
Mm.
recession, but definitely felt the pandemic. This, the timing for the pandemic and this startup was not great, but
Mm.
we've managed to weather the storm and still here. So it was a
Yeah.
big. It felt like a triumph to get through that.
Mm. If you could go back and maybe give that Stacy that was kind of, let's just say, just getting started again, some advice or something, obviously with the benefit of hindsight, right? What kind of things would you tell her if you could give her some tips?
Oh gosh, how long do we have? Depending on at what age.
Mhm.
And then again, I'm not sure I would do anything differently
Yeah.
because all decisions lead you to where you are now, and all
Mhm.
paths, 100 different decisions would have led an infinite number of
Yeah.
directions. So I really can't say that I have any regrets. There's plenty of things I would do differently with hindsight, but it's yeah, my kind of always advice to entrepreneurs is plan that it will take twice as long as you think. probably 3 times as long as you hope, and it will cost twice as much as you
Yeah.
think. So, yeah, but managing kind of those expectations are key.
Mm, yeah, if I I'll answer the question too. I don't know if that's breaking etiquette, but I'll tell you what I would have done.
Okay.
I would have said, Adam, pick up the E-Myth, like read it, understand what an entrepreneur is, like arm yourself with some fundamentals. Just because, and I'm speaking again for myself here,
Yeah,
just because you had a certain level of success in corporate America did not mean that you were ready to be an entrepreneur. That like
right.
entrepreneurship was gonna like fit what you were doing. Like I feel like in the
Yeah.
beginning, if I would have had even just some of the more basics of entrepreneurship, just some basic knowledge, then it would have been a whole lot less expensive.
Agreed. Agreed.
Tuition after the fact is expensive, right?
That's true, for sure. Yeah, when I did the big career change from
Mhm,
anesthesiology into business, I did that through, an MBA, and
mm,
that's one of the best decisions I've ever made was going back for the MBA. Like, I had already been kind of running the anesthesia business, but that's very different than
mhm,
having overhead and manufacturing and employees and supply chain, and
mhm.
so that having that education really helped kind of
Yeah.
going into this. So I had some real world experience, and then getting the formal education
Mhm.
in my early 30s really helped to kind of set me up. But I
Mm.
still make plenty of mistakes.
And so it feels like, and it seems like, so the whole healthcare niche, that's one that you gravitated maybe at an early age and you've stuck with, even going into now planetary. I mean, you're still in that kind of healthcare niche, yeah.
Yes.
Hmm.
In
And
between, I still do real estate development.
and so,
So
what attracts you to? We'll talk about real estate in a moment, but what attracts you to the healthcare side of things? I'm curious.
I think my earliest memories would be like when my younger brother scratched his knee on a bike wreck or something,
Wow.
I'd be the one to take care of him. And I never had a problem with blood, and nothing, grosses me out. So it was kind of caring for him. And then as a girl growing up in the rural South, frankly,
Mhm.
you get two choices. You can be a nurse or a teacher. And I did not want to be a teacher. So, and I was good at science. So nursing was a natural fit. And then I planned to go to medical school, and then kind of change directions due to marrying a military officer. So a lot
Hmm.
of detours along the way.
Yeah. And so one of the things that I find too interesting about like individuals that are just in general in the healthcare space, as startups, I should say specifically, is for one, I mean, a lot of times you're competing with some, obviously large business. If it's not on product, if it's not for, it could even just be for eyeballs and ideology and a lot of different things. But it's
Yes,
not easy to be in a space where when you're competing against people like the drug industry or like
it's so true.
about maybe even freedom of speech issues and a lot of other things. Like,
Mhm.
how have you felt or been able to kind of navigate or deal with, some of the things that have to come with, being in the healthcare space as a startup?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's very difficult to, and
Mhm.
I think I learned early on not to directly compete with him,
Yeah.
but to have to do it differently. And I've been a lifelong athlete, so you learn a little bit about competition. And I
Mhm.
am fairly competitive, but you realize when you're looking at pharmaceutical companies with billions of dollars in budget,
Yeah.
and even larger in this space now, the larger brands that have
Mhm.
in the hundreds of millions, when they can spend 100,000 a month just to get
Mhm.
keywords, uh, we don't have that kind of budget.
Yeah.
So it was less about directly competing and more about find our niche, find the differentiator, find our voice to convey.
Yeah.
And then our best growth has always been organic growth.
Mhm.
Someone tried it, they loved it, they told their friend. That is slow. That's not what you find necessarily in the marketing textbooks, and that doesn't scale
Mhm.
as quickly, but it is genuine. So that's been
Yeah.
the best sorts of growth.
Yeah, it's interesting to me. And when I think about that and where that question comes from is I kind of look at some of the other startups, like let's just say, and not picking at any business, right? Let's
Yeah.
pick on ours, right? I'll pick on mine, whatever.
Okay.
So like podcast agency, like I can, you
Hmm.
can have multiple podcast agencies and we could produce shows for people. And we could do that as a marketing agency or
Hmm.
otherwise, but it's not like iHeartRadio is gonna like hold us down or say, "Oh, Adam, you can't be doing a podcast because you're not an iHeartRadio." Like it's not that type of like thing. But when I think about like when you're competing for health and for the eyeballs and things like that, like put it this way, for searching for keywords, like nobody's coming after mission matters, and nobody, like, if anything, there's
Yeah.
that, there can be even a sense of like collegialness, or like of like
Mhm.
individuals like helping each other in that case. But I feel like healthcare is tricky. Healthcare can be tricky, huh?
It is tricky. Yeah,
Hmm.
it definitely is.
So let's go. I wanna jump around here a bit for a moment. So we will circle back to planetary, but I do want to talk a little bit about the upcoming book. So first off, for everybody watching this, we will be bringing Stacy back on the line. So we're not going to do a full deep dive into the book today. Today we're going to keep it kind of high level, but then we'll bring again Stacy back on the show, and then we'll do a deep dive once the book is actually live and launched. Why? Because today's a teaser, but we do want you to buy books, but you can't buy a book yet because it's not live. So, so Stacy, I guess just to get us kicked off on the book, like what kind of ideas, and again, keeping it high level, because I know we're still in editing and everything's not finalized yet, but what kind of ideas do you hope to propose in the upcoming book?
So I wrote about kind of two main philosophies: resiliency and flexibility.
Mm,
That throughout business, the ability to stay flexible is key because things will change and there's plenty of things beyond our control. Um, and you have to be able to go with the flow, so to
mm,
speak.
mm,
And then also resiliency, because
mm.
things will not always go as planned.
Yeah. And don't entrepreneurs out there watching this know that, right?
Yes, for sure.
All right. Well, I'm gonna cut it there because I have like 50 more questions I want to ask, but we're gonna do that in the second part of this interview, not today. But we'll go further into your concepts of resiliency, what that means, and obviously entrepreneurship. We'll go further into that as well. But let's shift focus a little bit here. So I want to go further into planetary. So maybe tell us a little bit more about the company just to get us started.
Sure. So we started 4.5 years ago, so in summer of 2018, with the intention of creating a
Mm,
new method of extracting from hemp plants.
yeah.
Um, and so we use water as opposed to other methods are ethanol, hexane, propane, butane, all these things that you probably don't want in your body, but
Yeah.
that's what's in most CBDs.
Mm,
So by creating this new method, it's cleaner, it's healthier. We are organic certified in process
mhm,
and in products, but also it extracts the cannabinoids the way they're grown in the plant. So
mm,
the raw natural form. Most people don't realize CBD is not made by the plant. It's CBDA or cannabidiolic acid that's
mhm,
made by the plant. And then through processing with chemicals, heat, and usually both, that decarboxylates it into the CBD that's most commonly
mm.
sold. By leaving it in the raw natural form, it's more potent and bioavailable in our bodies. It's also stronger anti inflammation. So you get better benefits and a cleaner, healthier product.
Mhm. And so, I mean, if I'm looking at, down a list of things, first off, when anybody tells me you can use water versus ethanol or any other chemical, I mean, to me, that just sounds like common sense. I'll take the water, please. Right.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah. Yeah. Would you like
and so,
hexane or water?
yeah. So what is kind of like, is there, because there's not, is there an industry standard versus water? I'm just curious, like how, because you said you're
Yeah,
developing this, and this
it's
is
us and one other people that we taught and worked with initially that do water. As far as I know, no one else is doing that. Most are ethanol, and then
mm,
some are hexane, propane, and a few are CO2. Although that's kind of fallen out of vogue lately.
yeah.
But yeah, the industry standard is ethanol.
Yeah. And so now with this water, with using water instead, it sounds to me like that would be like the obvious alternative. I'm curious, like
Don't
how's the
tell
adoption been?
everybody.
Right. I mean, is it like how's the adoption? Like, tell us a little bit more about how you get out there and maybe tell this story of it being better. Because to me, like obviously, this is one of the reasons why I wanted you to be on the show is
Yeah.
because I feel it's a better way. But like, how have you been getting out there and maybe telling that story?
That's a great question. When you get that figured out, let me know. It's a crowded space.
Yeah.
There's a very low barrier to entry.
Hmm.
So last I checked, there were over 3,000 CBD brands.
Hmm.
The vast majority never touch a plant or have anything to do with the processing. They buy a commodity product, they put their pretty label on it, and they call it their product.
Hmm.
Um, We actually do the extraction. We do all the manufacturing. We make every product from the plant to the
Mhm.
finished, safety sealed and shipped out to the customers or the store. So
Mm.
by controlling all steps of the manufacturing, we're able to assure quality. We can
Mhm.
assure the potency, and we can assure that everything we say is in that bottle is, and
Yeah.
nothing else. So we do, all the third party testing, which
Mhm.
is still unfortunately not a standard in the
Mm.
industry. It's becoming more common, but it's not a standard. So you may buy a bottle that you think is, 1,000 milligrams of CBD, and it may not have
Mhm.
any, or it may have
Really? That's
1
a
milligram.
thing? I
Oh
would
yeah,
have no idea. Yeah.
there's been a lot of like expose stories, and I think University of Kentucky did one more recently where they were testing bottles on the shelves, and the last studies showed about half had what they touted. So yeah, it's
Well,
it's
so
it's
just to
unregulated.
educate me a little bit more as well, and maybe
Yeah,
some of the people in the audience don't know, so that it's not mandatory to have third-party testing, you're saying,
no,
right? So
no.
sometimes, let's just say products make it to the shelves, not so good?
Correct, and that's something you wanna look for when you are shopping for products. I mean,
Mm,
this plant is incredible and meant to be healing, but if you kind of attenuate those healing benefits when
mhm,
you soak it in hexane or
yeah,
or add heavy metals or pesticides get in the process, so,
mm.
yeah.
So what are the I don't want to assume that everybody listening maybe knows some of just the basic level. So we've talked a little bit about obviously about the company. We've talked about your background as an entrepreneur. We talked about maybe some of the processes and why it's a superior process to use, water versus ethanol or something else. But maybe let's just start a little bit higher level, or continue a little bit more higher level. Like what are some of the general benefits and reasons why people would use the product in the first place?
The main one would be anti-inflammatory.
Hmm.
So, nearly all of our modern diseases are inflammatory in origin. So stress causes inflammation, and then your body's going to react to that.
Mhm.
Environmental toxins and so many things
Yeah.
cause inflammation in our bodies, and most of our ailments now are due to that
Mhm.
inflammation.
Hmm.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
So if you can block that, and if you can block it with a natural source, then you have greater greater outcomes.
Hmm. And so in terms of I'm just curious about like the next steps for the company. So so products obviously out there.
Mhm.
You have the supply chain down in terms of creating the product. Like what's next? Like as you kind of continue on your plan to take this out to market, like what's next for you?
Yeah, we've been predominantly direct to consumer merely
Mhm.
because I haven't been able to find a great distributor.
Hmm.
So I'd love to get these products out to more people, so greater distribution.
Mhm.
And then also, frankly, my background is more in the science side, and
Hmm.
so after kind of creating this process and products, now it's more of a marketing a brand,
Hmm.
and that's not necessarily where my passions or interests are. So I'm looking at exit strategies
Hmm.
and what would who could take this to the next level, who has the skill
Yeah.
set and the interest, and maybe it's bolt on to another company
Mhm.
that has an existing line of nutraceuticals or other cannabis or hemp products that would like to
Hmm.
add on an organic CPDA product line.
Yeah. No, this is awesome, Stacy. I'll tell you, it's been, great having you back on the show to get to know more about, your background, and obviously to announce your participation in the upcoming book. So I'm so thrilled to have you on. And then also to see what's going on next. And I'm excited to see how Planetary evolves
Yeah.
as you go further. But that being said, if somebody is watching this, Stacy, and they want to learn more about Planetary or to connect or to follow up and really just follow your journey, what's the best way for them to do that?
Our website's planetary.com. So planetarie.com.
Mhm.
We have a hello at planetary for email. And there's phone numbers and stuff listed on the website as well. You can also find me on LinkedIn.
Awesome. And we'll put all that information in the show notes so that our audience can just click on the links and head right on over. And speaking of the audience, If this is your first time engaging with the Mission Matters episode or watching the program, we're all about bringing on business owners, entrepreneurs, and executives and having them share their business, their background, why they do what they do, how they're doing it, and making a difference in the marketplace. If that's the type of content that sounds interesting or fun or engaging to you, hit that subscribe button, because we have many more mission-based individuals coming up on the line, and we don't want you to miss a thing. And Stacy, as always, great having you back on the show. Can't wait till we get to do it the next time. So thanks again for coming on.
Sounds good. Thank you, Adam.